Did you ever have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? I did. His name was Freckles the Clown. He had red, fuzzy tufts of hair jutting out of the sides of his head at odd angles. His eyelids were painted blue and his face was painted white. He had a red nose and lots of freckles. The freckles weren't just on his face either, but all over his clothes and arms like a million little misshapen polka dots. Or like blood spatter. When I walked home from school, Freckles would tag along. I didn't have many friends, only one or two, and they had their own friends who they spent most of their time with, so I was left alone with Freckles. We'd splash through mud puddles together in the spring, make piles of leaves and dive into them in the fall. We'd make snow forts in the winter and snowmen to guard them. I never had many real friends, but I was never lonely as long as Freckles was around to keep me company. But what I didn't know was that Freckles was a jealous imaginary friend. He didn't like me hanging out with anybody except for him. One day at school, I made a friend. A real one, not invisible like Freckles. A kid named Peter started talking to me during recess. We were both playing on the jungle gym when I saw his South Park t-shirt. I complimented him on it and said that was my favorite show, even though technically I wasn't allowed to watch it. That seemed to be enough information for him to decide I was okay. He told me that a bunch of his friends were coming over that weekend for his birthday party, and he invited me to come. I looked around to see where Freckles was, since I always looked for his approval. But he was nowhere to be seen. It was like he'd just vanished. I told Peter I'd be happy to go to his birthday party. He gave me his address and told me to be there Saturday around noon. An extra invitation was in his backpack, and he gave it to me at the end of the day, hastily filled out with my name. Misspelled, but that was okay. I was actually invited to a birthday party for the first time in my life. I couldn't believe it. The rest of the week I was so excited about the birthday party, it was all I talked about. To my parents, my teachers, to everybody willing to listen. Freckles seemed like he was mad at me, though. He didn't want to talk about the birthday party. Didn't even want to hear about it. Eventually he seemed to come around, though. By Friday night, Freckles was as excited as I was. But not for the same reasons. Saturday finally came, and my mom drove me out to Peter's house. She dropped me off and gave me a kiss on the cheek, telling me to be good before driving away. I went inside and found a bunch of kids from my class were already there, playing pin the tail on the donkey, and wearing pointed cardboard hats covered in polka dots. "Hey, look who's here," Peter said when I got inside. He introduced me to all of his other friends, who pretended to meet me for the first time. It was weird because I had seen them all in school for years, but they acted like I was new to the neighborhood or something. It didn't bother me, though. I was just excited to be included for once. "Did you bring a jacket?" Peter asked. "We're going to go out in the forest and play paintball with slingshots." It turned out his mom had bought a jumbo container of paintballs and a dozen slingshots for his birthday party, since that was what he wanted to do more than anything on his birthday. I had indeed brought a jacket along with me and put it on after we'd eaten lunch. I was stuffed from the kid-friendly spread consisting of pizza, Pepsi, and ice cream cake. The 10 of us went outside and made our way to the nearby forest. It's funny, these days stuff like that would probably never fly. Giving kids slingshots and projectiles and sending them out into the forest to have fun. But that's how it was back then. Nobody really thought anything of it. We all split up for the free-for-all match and agreed we would meet up again where we started at the entrance to the forest once an hour had passed. The ground was muddy and fallen leaves covered the forest floor as I walked around by myself, no longer feeling so lonely. Everyone had scattered throughout the forest. Strangely, I didn't see anyone for a while. Even Freckles had disappeared on me. I wonder if maybe he was mad and I was making new friends. But he had seemed excited about the party the day before. Didn't make sense. The whole hour went by and nobody shot a single paintball, as far as I could tell. There were no joyous yells or playful insults ringing through the trees. It was dead silent, in fact. As if even the birds had become mute or had fled the woods entirely. Silence permeated everything, and the sounds of my boots crunching through the leaves was all I could hear. A full hour had passed, so I went uneasily back to the forest entrance, unsure what I would find there. Part of me thought maybe everyone had ditched me and run for the hills, realizing how much of a loser I actually was. Nobody was at the forest entrance, though. All the kids were still out there somewhere, roaming the woods. My unease growing more and more with each step, I started to search for them. I didn't know why, but a knot of worry was growing steadily in my belly, growing larger and heavier by the second. It took a while to find them. They were all together, so that made it easier. I was drawn in by the sound of someone chewing something stringy and wet like an animal. The sounds of teeth snapping cartilage and chewing gristle became even clearer as I drew near. Freckles was crouched and perched on a log like a wild primate. He was covered in blood and stripping the flesh from a piece of bone with his teeth and licking his lips when he saw me. An overjoyed giggle poured out of him. Around him were the corpses of my new friends. Bloody, ragged, ripped flesh hung from their bones in places where he had taken big bites. Their clothes were ripped and torn from their struggles to escape him. "You were right," he announced when he saw me. "Birthday parties are fun." My voice caught in my throat as I tried to scream, unable to make a sound. "I'm so glad you invited me,"